There's a quiet moment that happens for many people after 50. It's the first time you notice yourself getting tired after a walk that used to feel effortless. Or maybe it's when you wake up and realize your joints take a few extra minutes to loosen. Some people ignore that whisper from the body. Others feel a kind of gentle fear, a realization that time is moving, and the body is changing in ways that no one really prepared them for. And yet, there's something profoundly empowering about this stage of life, because while we can't turn back the clock, science has proven, again and again, that how we live each day directly shapes how well and how long we live. Not through extreme diets or expensive supplements, but through a few deceptively simple daily habits that protect the heart, feed the brain, and extend the body's natural vitality. The truth is, most of what accelerates aging happens silently. It doesn't begin with a diagnosis or a sudden collapse. It begins with subtle imbalances, blood sugar that spikes a little too often, inflammation that never fully resolves, sleep that's just short enough to prevent full repair. Day by day, these small cracks in our biology widen, arteries stiffen, mitochondria, the power plants of our cells, slow down. And before we know it, we start living with a kind of invisible fatigue that we call normal aging. But what if that wasn't normal? What if it was the result of habits that could be adjusted, gently, naturally, and without pain? Because what the best research now shows is that longevity isn't built by doing everything right. It's built by doing a few small things right every single day. It starts with something so simple that most people dismiss it. Morning movement. Not exercise in the way we imagine it. No gym, no weights, no timer. Just the simple act of moving the body within 30 minutes of waking. The reason this matters is biochemical. During sleep, blood flow slows, metabolism dips, and inflammatory molecules accumulate in the bloodstream. When you wake and move, even just walking, stretching, or doing gentle squats, you flush your lymphatic system, which has no pump of its own. You stimulate nitric oxide release in your blood vessels, improving circulation and helping oxygen reach your brain faster. This early oxygenation has been shown to improve cognitive clarity for the entire day. In one study, people over 55 who practiced light movement in the morning had 25% higher blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and memory, compared to those who remained sedentary until noon. And over time, this difference compounds. Morning movers tend to have lower fasting insulin, lower triglycerides, and better emotional stability throughout the day. But there's another layer that few people talk about, the emotional rhythm of the morning. Our cortisol levels peak early in the day. For some, this is a good thing, helping us wake and feel alert. But for others, especially under chronic stress, that spike becomes excessive, leaving us anxious or wired. Movement helps regulate this natural cortisol rhythm, bringing balance between alertness and calm. Imagine your body as an orchestra. Movement is the conductor that brings harmony before the day begins. Without it, each system plays out of tune. That imbalance, repeated daily, accelerates biological aging more than most people realize. So when you wake up tomorrow, before reaching for your phone or your coffee, simply move. Even 5 minutes of walking, or a short stretch near the window, tells your cells, we're alive, we're active, we're ready to repair. The second daily habit may surprise you. It's the art of mindful hydration. Not just drinking water, but how and when you drink it. After 50, the body's thirst signals become weaker. You may think you're not thirsty when, in reality, your cells are dehydrated. Chronic, low-grade dehydration thickens the blood, strains the kidneys, and makes the heart work harder with every beat. Imagine your circulation as a river. When it's well hydrated, the current flows smoothly, carrying oxygen and nutrients to every cell. When it's dry, that current slows, allowing toxins and metabolic waste to linger longer in your tissues. Studies from Harvard and Stanford have shown that even mild dehydration increases oxidative stress and shortens telomeres, the protective caps on our DNA that determine how fast we age. But here's where habit transforms biology. When you drink a glass of water before your first coffee, before each meal, and once before bed, you teach your cells to stay hydrated at all times, not just when you're thirsty. Over time, this lowers your risk of hypertension, kidney stones, and even cognitive decline. However, hydration is not just about water quantity, it's about balance. The body needs electrolytes, sodium, potassium, and magnesium, to absorb and utilize water properly. Without them, hydration is like pouring water into a sieve. So, a pinch of mineral salt in your morning water, or a small glass of coconut water in the afternoon, can make all the difference. And here's something fascinating. Hydration also affects mood. In older adults, dehydration has been linked to irritability, confusion, and fatigue that mimic depression. When properly hydrated, the brain's serotonin system functions more efficiently, improving emotional stability and sleep quality. So think of water not just as a drink, but as a form of medicine, one that clears the fog from the mind and revives the quiet energy that aging slowly steals. The third habit is equally simple yet profoundly transformative: consistent nourishment, not constant eating. Many adults over 50 develop irregular eating patterns, skipping breakfast, eating late at night, or grazing all day without realizing it. These patterns keep insulin levels chronically elevated, which over time leads to insulin resistance, one of the silent killers of vitality. When insulin remains high, your body stores more fat and burns less. But more importantly, high insulin keeps your cells in a growth mode, preventing autophagy, the cellular cleanup process that removes damaged proteins and rejuvenates the body. This is one reason why intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating has gained so much scientific attention. It's not a fad, it's physiology. Giving your body even a 12-hour nightly break between dinner and breakfast allows it to repair DNA, balance hormones, and reduce inflammation. In one study from the Salk Institute, adults over 50 who simply confined their eating window to 10 hours without changing what they ate improved their blood pressure, reduced their waist circumference, and slept better within 3 weeks. But beyond the timing of meals, what truly defines longevity is the quality of the first thing you eat. When you break your fast with protein-rich, antioxidant-dense foods, such as eggs, Greek yogurt, or a handful of berries, you stabilize your blood sugar and set a metabolic tone of balance for the rest of the day. Contrast that with starting your morning with refined carbohydrates, white bread, fruit juice, or sugary cereal, and your blood sugar can spike by up to 200 points in under an hour, followed by a crash that triggers fatigue and cravings. Over time, those daily spikes cause microscopic damage to the blood vessels feeding your eyes, kidneys, and heart. The solution isn't extreme dieting, it's gentle awareness. Know what your body responds well to and repeat it with consistency. Longevity isn't about restriction, it's about rhythm. The body loves rhythm. Wake at the same time, eat at the same times, sleep at the same times. That predictability is one of the most underestimated medicines for aging well. And then comes perhaps the most overlooked habit of all: evening stillness. In a world obsessed with productivity, silence has become rare. But after 50, your nervous system craves recovery more than stimulation. The evening, once a time for reflection, has turned into an extension of the day's noise: glowing screens, late emails, constant updates. Yet your heart and brain operate on rhythms that require darkness and calm to regenerate. Studies on heart rate variability, a key measure of nervous system resilience, show that adults who spend even 10 minutes in quiet reflection before bed have better cardiovascular recovery overnight and lower morning blood pressure. The mechanism is simple yet profound. During stillness, your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and repair system, activates, lowering cortisol and allowing your cells to detoxify more efficiently. Think of it as your body's nightly reset. Without it, you go to bed tired and wake up tired, trapped in a cycle that slowly erodes your energy and focus. True longevity is not built in the gym or in the doctor's office. It's built in these small, consistent moments. The first few minutes after waking, the quiet hydration before coffee, the intentional nourishment before distraction, and the calm exhale before sleep. These 4 habits, movement, hydration, mindful eating, and stillness, are not just routines. They are biological signals that tell your body, you are safe, you are nourished, you can repair. Every organ listens to these signals. The heart beats with less strain. The brain clears more efficiently. The liver processes toxins faster. And day by day, these small physiological improvements add up. The body you have at 60 is largely a reflection of the signals you've sent it daily since 50. The good news is that it's never too late to change the message. Imagine your body as a living garden. Each habit is like sunlight, water, soil, and rest, all necessary for growth. Ignore one too long, and the system compensates until it can't. But nurture them consistently, and even an aging body blooms again. Science is now proving that the biological age, the age of your cells, can differ dramatically from your chronological age. Two people, both 60 years old, can have cellular ages that differ by 15 years or more. The difference isn't luck, it's lifestyle. Those who move, hydrate, eat rhythmically, and rest deeply have mitochondria that function like those of someone decades younger. Their immune systems remain sharp, their arteries remain flexible, their sleep remains restorative. It's not magic, it's consistency. The challenge is not knowing what to do, it's remembering to do it. The modern world is full of distractions that pull us away from the body's wisdom. We wake to notifications instead of sunlight, we hydrate with caffeine instead of water, we eat on autopilot instead of awareness, and we fall asleep to screens instead of silence. But inside, your body still remembers how to thrive. Longevity isn't something you chase, it's something you return to. And returning begins with one small, consistent choice: today. When we talk about longevity, we often imagine genetics as the main deciding factor, as though our future is written in our DNA. And yes, our genes do play a role, but modern science reveals something far more empowering. It's our daily environment that decides how those genes express themselves. The foods we eat, the way we move, the stress we allow to linger, all of these switch certain genes on or off. It's called epigenetics, and it explains why two people of the same age, even from the same family, can age completely differently. One may carry vitality in their 70s, while another feels exhausted in their 50s. The difference isn't fate, it's the accumulation of choices. Yet, here's the danger most people over 50 don't realize. The body's ability to recover from poor choices declines subtly but steadily with age. The same late-night meal that caused mild indigestion at 40 can elevate blood sugar dangerously at 60. The same lack of sleep that once made you groggy now accelerates arterial stiffness and impairs brain repair. In the younger years, the body forgives. After 50, it begins to remember. The habits that once went unnoticed start leaving marks. In the heart, in the brain, in the joints, in the skin. And those marks, if ignored, become disease. Let's start with the first and perhaps most deceptive risk: inflammation. Most people think inflammation only happens when something hurts or swells, but the kind that shortens lifespan is silent. Chronic low-grade inflammation, known as inflammaging, is a slow internal fire that damages blood vessels, accelerates plaque buildup, and weakens the immune system. It's triggered not by one event, but by accumulation. Processed foods, sedentary routines, poor sleep, chronic stress. Every day these small insults signal the immune system to stay alert, producing cytokines, the body's inflammatory messengers. Over time, those cytokines attack not invaders, but your own tissues. This is why aging bodies often ache without cause. The joints, arteries, and even brain cells are under constant immune assault. A major culprit here is sugar. Not just desserts or candy, but the hidden sugars in breads, sauces, cereals, and drinks that many people believe are harmless. After 50, insulin sensitivity naturally declines. This means the same amount of sugar causes a higher blood glucose spike than it did years before. These spikes create compounds called advanced glycation end products, AGEs. They are aptly named because they literally age your tissues. AGEs cause collagen to harden, making the skin lose elasticity and the arteries lose flexibility. The heart has to pump harder. The brain's microvessels begin to stiffen, reducing oxygen delivery. You might notice it as forgetfulness or slower recall, but inside, it's the physical evidence of sugar damaging the brain's wiring. And while this might sound grim, it's not a sentence. It's a warning that can still be reversed. Because every time you choose foods that stabilize blood sugar, protein-rich breakfasts, fiber, healthy fats, you lower age formation and give your tissues a chance to heal. Studies show that after just 8 weeks of blood sugar stabilization, skin elasticity improves measurably, energy rises, and sleep becomes deeper. Your body wants to recover. It only needs consistency to do so. Another overlooked risk is oxidative stress. Think of your body as a city, every cell a factory constantly producing energy. That energy generation also produces waste, unstable molecules called free radicals. In youth, your body neutralizes them efficiently using antioxidants like glutathione and superoxide dismutase. But after 50, production of these defenses drops dramatically. When free radicals outnumber antioxidants, they begin attacking DNA, proteins, and cell membranes. This is oxidative stress, the biological rust that accelerates everything from wrinkles to Alzheimer's disease. You can't see it, but you can feel it. Fatigue that no amount of rest fixes, slower recovery from exercise, sensitivity to cold, or constant low motivation. Oxidative stress and inflammation feed each other in a vicious cycle. Inflammation produces free radicals. Free radicals trigger more inflammation. This feedback loop accelerates the biological clock. Researchers call it the oxidative inflamm-aging cycle, and it's one of the strongest predictors of early mortality. The simplest way to interrupt it is to restore balance through antioxidant-rich foods, not supplements but natural sources like berries, leafy greens, olive oil, and green tea. These foods feed your mitochondria, the engines of your cells, allowing them to produce energy cleanly again. And when mitochondria are healthy, every organ follows. But perhaps the most underappreciated risk after 50 is loss of muscle mass. Most people associate muscle with youth or fitness, not longevity, yet muscle is one of the strongest predictors of lifespan. It's not about aesthetics, it's about survival. Muscle tissue is the body's largest glucose sink, meaning it helps regulate blood sugar by absorbing glucose after meals. When you lose muscle, your blood sugar stays elevated longer, feeding inflammation and fat storage. Sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle, begins quietly around 40 and accelerates each decade if ignored. By 60, some individuals have lost up to 30% of their muscle mass. That doesn't just mean weakness, it means slower metabolism, reduced balance, poorer circulation, and higher risk of falls, which are one of the leading causes of mortality in older adults. You might not feel it happening at first. You simply notice stairs feel steeper, or carrying groceries feels heavier. But underneath, your mitochondria are reducing in number. Muscle fibers shrink, and your resting metabolic rate declines. Without intervention, this leads to what doctors call metabolic frailty, a state where even small stressors, like a cold or mild infection, can destabilize the entire body. It's why a simple flu can be devastating to someone frail, yet only mildly inconvenient to someone strong. The difference isn't luck, it's muscle. And here's the catch. Muscle loss is reversible at any age. Studies show that people who start light resistance training in their 60s can regain muscle mass equivalent to someone 20 years younger. That single habit not only restores strength but directly improves insulin sensitivity, heart health, and cognitive performance. Because when muscles contract, they release myokines, small proteins that signal the brain and immune system to rejuvenate. In essence, movement becomes medicine. Now let's talk about sleep, or rather, the lack of it. Sleep deprivation is one of the most underestimated accelerators of aging. After 50, sleep patterns naturally shift. Less deep sleep, more nighttime awakenings. Many dismiss this as just getting older, but poor sleep drives hormonal chaos. When you don't reach deep sleep stages, your body fails to produce adequate growth hormone and melatonin, two critical anti-aging hormones. Growth hormone repairs tissue, maintains lean muscle, and regulates metabolism. Melatonin not only governs sleep, but acts as a potent antioxidant, protecting mitochondria from damage. Lose these nightly repairs often enough, and the body begins to operate in constant survival mode. Blood pressure rises, cortisol increases, appetite hormones become unbalanced, and the immune system weakens. What's more troubling is how sleep affects the brain. During deep sleep, the brain's glymphatic system, a waste-clearing network, flushes out toxins and misfolded proteins like beta-amyloid, which are associated with Alzheimer's disease. When sleep is cut short or fragmented, that cleansing doesn't happen. Imagine never taking out the trash in your home. Eventually it piles up. That's exactly what happens in the brain. Over years, this leads to memory issues, cognitive fog, and emotional instability. Yet improving sleep hygiene, consistent bedtime, darkened rooms, reduced blue light, can restore much of this lost rejuvenation. But there's another risk silently eating away at longevity: chronic stress. Stress itself isn't the enemy. It's the chronicity that kills. A brief surge of cortisol helps you focus and survive. Prolonged elevation corrodes your physiology. High cortisol suppresses immunity, increases visceral fat, raises blood sugar, and damages the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. Many people over 50 live in a state of quiet, unacknowledged stress. Financial worries, family responsibilities, health anxieties. They normalize it, thinking, that's just life. But inside, that stress is aging them daily. One landmark study found that adults with high chronic stress had telomeres, those protective DNA caps, equivalent to people 10 years older. It's not metaphorical. Stress literally erodes the ends of your chromosomes. And here's where it connects back to those daily habits. Without morning movement, cortisol stays high all day. Without hydration, blood viscosity rises, magnifying stress on the heart. Without rhythmic eating, blood sugar fluctuations intensify cortisol surges. Without evening stillness, the nervous system never resets. Each habit protects against one of these risks. Remove them, and you create a perfect storm of biochemical stressors that accelerate aging. Another hidden danger that grows more significant after 50 is vascular aging. Your arteries are not static pipes. They're living, flexible tissues. Over time, high blood pressure, poor diet, and oxidative stress stiffen them, reducing their ability to expand and contract. This stiffening increases the risk of stroke, heart attack, and kidney damage. You may not feel it until it's too late. Yet, studies show that certain lifestyle habits, particularly consistent movement and hydration, can reverse vascular stiffness by improving nitric oxide bioavailability. When you hydrate, your blood volume increases slightly, reducing vascular strain. When you move, your endothelial cells release nitric oxide, relaxing blood vessels and improving circulation. This is why even gentle walking or stretching lowers blood pressure better than many expect. At the same time, chronic inflammation and poor diet contribute to endothelial dysfunction, the first step in atherosclerosis. Microscopic cracks appear in arterial walls, and LDL cholesterol seeps in. Immune cells rush to repair the damage, but end up creating plaque instead. Over years, that plaque narrows the arteries, silently starving the heart and brain of oxygen. You might not notice symptoms until you climb stairs or walk briskly, but inside, those arteries have been crying out for balance for decades. And it's not just the heart. The brain's small vessels suffer too. Cerebral microangiopathy, small vessel disease, is one of the leading causes of dementia. It's essentially a vascular form of aging, where tiny blood vessels lose elasticity and leak. And the same mechanisms apply: inflammation, oxidative stress, high blood sugar, poor sleep, dehydration. It's all connected. The brain doesn't age in isolation, it ages with the body. Then there's the gut, often ignored yet profoundly influential in longevity. After 50, stomach acid production drops, making digestion less efficient. This allows harmful bacteria to thrive and beneficial ones to decline. The gut barrier becomes more permeable, a condition known as leaky gut, allowing bacterial toxins to enter the bloodstream, triggering inflammation throughout the body. Scientists now call the gut the second brain because of its direct communication with the nervous system through the vagus nerve. An imbalanced gut doesn't just cause bloating or discomfort, it affects mood, cognition, and even immune function. 90% of serotonin, your mood-regulating hormone, is produced in the gut. When that system falters, so does emotional balance. All of these risks, inflammation, oxidative stress, muscle loss, poor sleep, chronic stress, vascular aging, gut imbalance, form an interconnected web. They don't happen independently, they amplify one another. You can't isolate them, but you can calm them all through holistic daily habits. That's the beauty of biology. When one system heals, the rest follow. Movement lowers stress hormones and improves digestion. Hydration supports detoxification and vascular health. Rhythmic eating stabilizes blood sugar and enhances sleep quality. Stillness repairs the nervous system and reduces inflammation. They are not random habits. They are interlocking levers that, when pulled together, shift the entire organism toward equilibrium. So when we talk about the risks of aging, it's not to provoke fear. It's to illuminate cause and effect. Every symptom the body sends is feedback. Every ache, every foggy morning, every restless night, it's your biology speaking. And it's never too late to listen. Because the moment you do, you regain power. You move from being a passive passenger of aging to an active participant in longevity. Picture your body as a living ecosystem, not a machine, but a landscape. Every organ, every cell, every hormone communicates in quiet whispers, maintaining harmony. But as we age, those whispers grow faint. The signals become slower and the balance more fragile. By the time we reach 50, decades of small imbalances, poor sleep, sugar overloads, stress, inactivity, accumulate like debris in a river. The current still moves, but not with the same ease. The heart works harder to push blood through stiffened vessels. The brain struggles to clear its waste each night. Muscles that once burned energy efficiently now sit dormant, allowing fat to creep in and hormones to shift. The impact of neglect isn't immediate. It's gradual, silent, and deeply personal. Inside, the story is written in microscopic detail. Every breath brings oxygen into the lungs, where it travels through vessels to feed the cells. But when those vessels lose elasticity, the oxygen can't reach as efficiently. Your brain, which consumes about 20% of all the oxygen in your body, feels it first. That's when forgetfulness begins, not because you're just getting older, but because neurons are starving for oxygen and glucose. The brain becomes sluggish not from age itself, but from restricted flow. And what follows is a cascade. Fatigue during the day, poor sleep at night, irritability, slower reaction times. Each symptom feels isolated, but they're all threads in the same tapestry: reduced circulation, increased inflammation, and weakened cellular communication. Let's walk through this picture from the inside out. The heart, the most tireless muscle in your body, beats roughly 100,000 Sauron times a day. Over a lifetime, that's billions of contractions, each one dependent on clean arteries and balanced electrolytes. But when inflammation builds up, plaque forms along arterial walls, narrowing the passageways like rust in an old pipe. The heart must now pump harder, creating microscopic tears. The immune system responds to repair those tears, but in doing so, it builds more plaque. This is how high blood pressure becomes self-sustaining. You may not feel it in your chest, but you feel it as heaviness in your legs, dizziness when standing, or even cold hands. These are signals of reduced perfusion, the silent struggle of your heart trying to keep up. Meanwhile, inside the brain, the glymphatic system, the brain's nightly cleaning crew, begins to falter when you don't reach deep sleep. Imagine your brain as a city that only cleans its streets at night. When sleep is shallow, that cleanup shift never happens. Debris builds up between neurons, especially beta-amyloid, the sticky protein linked to Alzheimer's. At first, you just forget small things: a name, a word, a task. But over years, these proteins interfere with communication between neurons like static in a radio signal. Cognitive decline begins not with a disease, but with nights of unrest and unchecked inflammation. In the gut, trillions of bacteria, your microbiome, quietly regulate digestion, immunity, and mood. But years of processed foods, antibiotics, and low-fiber intake strip away beneficial species. Harmful bacteria overgrow, producing endotoxins that leak through the gut wall and enter the bloodstream. This is called metabolic endotoxemia, and it fuels inflammation throughout the body. The immune system stays in a state of mild alert, attacking phantom threats. Over time, this inflamed state contributes to arthritis, depression, and cardiovascular disease. It's no coincidence that people with chronic gut imbalances often experience both mental fog and joint pain. The connection is biochemical. Inflammation anywhere spreads everywhere. And then there's muscle tissue, one of the most underrated players in longevity. Each muscle fiber acts like a small metabolic factory, burning glucose and producing molecules that communicate with your brain and immune system. When muscles shrink from inactivity, metabolism slows, blood sugar control weakens, and fat accumulates around organs. Visceral fat, the deep kind surrounding your liver and pancreas, releases inflammatory chemicals that further damage cells. This is why losing muscle accelerates aging faster than almost any other factor. The loss of muscle isn't just a loss of strength, it's a loss of metabolic stability. Your liver too begins to show the effects of imbalance. It's the body's chemical plant, filtering toxins, balancing hormones, and regulating cholesterol. But chronic dehydration and sugar overload make its job nearly impossible. Excess fructose, for example, is metabolized almost entirely in the liver. Over time, this contributes to fatty liver disease, a silent epidemic affecting nearly 1 in 3 adults over 50. Fatty liver doesn't always show symptoms at first, but it's a ticking clock. It increases insulin resistance, amplifies inflammation, and limits the body's detox capacity. People often describe afternoon fatigue or mental fog, not realizing their liver is overburdened by years of imbalance. Now let's move deeper into the cells themselves. Every cell contains mitochondria, the power plants that turn nutrients into energy. But mitochondria are fragile. They're easily damaged by toxins, poor diet, or lack of movement. When damaged, they produce less energy and more free radicals, unstable molecules that injure nearby cells. This process is called mitochondrial dysfunction, and it's one of the leading mechanisms of aging. The impact isn't abstract. It's what you feel as chronic tiredness, slower healing, decreased motivation, or even depression. When your mitochondria underperform, every system struggles. The brain loses focus, the muscles tire faster, and even mood regulation falters. On a microscopic level, oxidative stress is corroding your DNA. Each cell carries about 23 pairs of chromosomes, and at the end of each lies a protective cap called a telomere. Every time a cell divides, the telomere shortens slightly. When it becomes too short, the cell can no longer replicate. It enters senescence, a kind of biological limbo where it stays alive but stops functioning properly. These senescent cells release inflammatory molecules that damage nearby healthy cells, accelerating aging like a contagion. In youth, your body clears out these senescent cells efficiently, but as you age, that cleanup slows down. The buildup creates a toxic environment where tissues lose elasticity, recovery slows, and energy declines. Scientists now use telomere length as one of the most accurate predictors of biological age. What's remarkable is that simple lifestyle changes, consistent exercise, antioxidant-rich foods, deep sleep, and stress management can actually lengthen telomeres again. Longevity is not a myth, it's a measurable biological state. Even your bones tell the story of aging habits. By 50, bone density starts to decline, particularly in women after menopause. This isn't just about calcium deficiency, it's about inflammation and inactivity. When bones aren't exposed to regular, gentle stress, like walking or resistance training, they lose their mineral density. Blood flow to the bone marrow diminishes, reducing the production of fresh red blood cells. This contributes to fatigue, dizziness, and poor oxygenation throughout the body. And the less oxygen your cells receive, the more oxidative stress builds up, forming a self-reinforcing loop. Hormones, too, shift subtly yet powerfully. Testosterone, estrogen, growth hormone, and DHEA all decline with age. But what most people miss is that these hormones are tightly connected to sleep, diet, and movement. Poor sleep lowers testosterone. Chronic stress depletes DHEA. Excess sugar and alcohol increase estrogen dominance in both men and women. The body's hormonal orchestra begins to play out of tune. The result is slower metabolism, mood swings, poor concentration, and reduced libido. But when you restore the natural rhythms, consistent meal times, good hydration, regular movement, your endocrine system recalibrates. The glands begin communicating again, and balance slowly returns. It's important to understand that the impact of neglect isn't just physical, it's emotional. Chronic inflammation and hormonal imbalance alter neurotransmitter production in the brain. Serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, the molecules that regulate mood and calm, become dysregulated. That's why so many people after 50 describe a subtle sadness or restlessness they can't explain. It's not weakness, it's chemistry. The brain's emotional circuits are wired to your physical health. When you nourish your body, your mind stabilizes. When you neglect it, anxiety and irritability rise. Longevity isn't about living longer at any cost. It's about preserving the quality of your emotional life. And yet, the human body is remarkably forgiving. Even after decades of stress or imbalance, repair begins the moment you decide to make a change. Within just 48 hours of better sleep, your cortisol levels begin to normalize. Within a week of improved hydration and balanced meals, your blood viscosity decreases, circulation improves, and mental clarity returns. Within a month of consistent movement, muscle fibers start regenerating, and insulin sensitivity rises. Within 3 months, measurable improvements appear in heart rate variability, telomere length, and mitochondrial density. Every positive action compounds. Aging is not linear. It's dynamic. You can accelerate it, or you can slow it, even reverse parts of it, through the choices you make each day. The impact of healthy habits works in the opposite direction of decay. When you hydrate well, your blood becomes thinner, easing the heart's workload. When you move regularly, your muscles release myokines that reduce systemic inflammation. When you eat within consistent windows, your digestive system resets, allowing the liver and pancreas to rest. When you embrace evening stillness, your parasympathetic nervous system activates, lowering cortisol and repairing tissue. Each habit sends a signal of safety to your body, and safety is what allows it to heal. There's a profound beauty in realizing that your body has never been your enemy. It has only been responding to your environment. The stiffness in your joints, the fog in your mind, the weight that won't shift, they're all forms of communication. The body doesn't punish, it adapts. When you provide it with the right conditions, hydration, movement, balance, rest, it doesn't hesitate to rejuvenate. Cells regenerate, inflammation subsides, energy returns. That's not wishful thinking, it's physiology. So the next time you wake feeling slower than usual, remember this. Aging isn't a decline, it's a dialogue. Your body is speaking, asking for rhythm, nourishment, and care. Every positive change, no matter how small, has ripple effects you may never see. Arteries opening wider, neurons firing more efficiently, immune cells responding faster. These invisible victories are the true currency of longevity. And maybe the greatest impact of all isn't measured in blood markers or medical charts, but in how you feel. When your body begins to align again, you feel lighter, not just physically, but emotionally. There's a quiet confidence in knowing that your energy is steady, your focus sharp, your heart strong. That's the essence of vitality. Not eternal youth, but sustainable balance. The feeling that your body and mind are on the same team again. There's a calm that arrives the moment you realize aging isn't the enemy. The enemy is neglect, the quiet, unintentional drift away from what keeps you alive. And when you understand that, something powerful happens. You stop fighting your body and start working with it. Relief begins not with medicine, but with rhythm, a return to the simple habits that nature designed long before science had names for them. Longevity is not about adding years to life, it's about adding life to years. And that life comes back in small, deliberate moments. The first and most profound relief comes from movement, but not in the punishing sense that modern fitness culture promotes, not about burning calories or chasing numbers. Movement as medicine is gentler, deeper, and more consistent. It's the slow morning stretch that tells your joints, you are still capable. It's the 20-minute walk that lowers your blood pressure more effectively than many pills. When you move daily, you activate your body's natural pharmacy. Endorphins soothe pain, dopamine sharpens focus, serotonin lifts mood, and myokines repair tissue. Even 1 week of light exercise can increase blood flow to the brain and decrease inflammatory markers by 30%. For adults over 50, the best movements are rhythmic: walking, swimming, light resistance training, cycling, tai chi. These don't strain the joints, they lubricate them. They remind your body how to breathe deeply again. When your muscles contract, they pump blood back to the heart, helping circulation and oxygen delivery. That's why people who move consistently have lower rates of heart disease, diabetes, and depression, not because movement is a miracle, but because it restores the conversation between systems that aging tries to silence. And here's something many people don't realize: muscle itself is an organ of longevity. The more you maintain it, the more signals of health your body receives. Muscles store glucose, regulate insulin, and release anti-inflammatory compounds. Every time you lift a weight or even carry your groceries with intention, you are literally telling your cells to stay young. You're activating genes associated with repair and silencing those linked to decline. That's not metaphor, it's measurable biology. Then comes hydration, the simplest yet most overlooked form of healing. When you begin to hydrate with awareness, you start noticing subtle shifts. Your energy lasts longer, your digestion improves, your skin regains elasticity, even your thoughts feel clearer. That's because hydration is not just about quenching thirst, it's about restoring flow. Every organ in your body depends on fluid balance. Your blood is 90% water, your brain 75%, your muscles about 70%. When water is low, everything slows: metabolism, detoxification, and electrical communication between cells. But here's the key: drinking water isn't enough. You must absorb it. And absorption depends on minerals: sodium, potassium, magnesium. Start your day with a glass of warm water, mixed with a pinch of mineral salt and a squeeze of lemon. It jumpstarts digestion, replenishes electrolytes lost overnight, and primes the kidneys. Then sip water throughout the day instead of gulping large amounts at once. Steady intake keeps blood volume and brain hydration stable. Many people discover that when they finally hydrate properly, their headaches disappear, cravings decrease, and mood stabilizes. That's not coincidence. Dehydration directly affects neurotransmitters and hormones like cortisol and serotonin. Imagine hydration as a gentle tide moving through your body, washing away waste, carrying nutrients, balancing temperature. When that tide flows freely, life feels lighter. Your joints move with less stiffness. Your skin glows not because of creams, but because your cells are plump with vitality. It's an effortless form of healing that costs nothing and yet repairs almost everything. Next comes nutrition, not restrictive, not trendy, but restorative. The older the body, the more it craves simplicity. Every cell depends on real food to rebuild itself. Proteins for tissue, fats for hormones, carbohydrates for fuel, and phytonutrients for protection. The relief comes when you stop counting and start listening. The best diet for longevity isn't extreme, it's balanced and consistent. Think Mediterranean in principle: olive oil, fish, legumes, vegetables, nuts, berries. These foods have stood the test of centuries because they feed both body and mind. When you replace processed foods with whole ones, inflammation begins to retreat almost immediately. Within days, your gut bacteria start to shift. Harmful species diminish, and beneficial ones, those that produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, begin to flourish. These molecules calm inflammation, repair the gut barrier, and even influence mood by enhancing serotonin production. In a few weeks, you'll notice digestion feels smoother, energy lasts longer, and mental clarity improves. That's the gut-brain axis reawakening, the inner ecosystem finding its natural rhythm again. And perhaps the most healing nutrition change after 50 is rediscovering the art of timing. Give your body predictable eating windows. When you eat and rest at consistent hours, your circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock, synchronizes again. Hormones like insulin, cortisol, and melatonin begin to align. Studies show that adults who eat within a 10 to 12-hour window each day, even without changing calories, improve metabolic health, reduce inflammation, and sleep better. It's not starvation, it's restoration. The body loves rhythm. That rhythm extends into the evening. the sacred space of stillness. Relief blossoms most deeply here because it's when the body finally repairs. After 50, your nervous system no longer tolerates constant noise and stimulation. You may think rest is laziness, but in truth, rest is productivity for your cells. During quiet reflection, meditation, or even slow breathing, your parasympathetic nervous system takes the lead. Blood pressure drops, heart rate slows, digestion improves, and cellular repair accelerates. You can begin with just 10 minutes before bed. Turn off screens, dim the lights, and sit in silence. Focus on the sensation of breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. As your breath slows, cortisol falls. Your heart begins to beat in a calm, coherent rhythm. This is not abstract relaxation, it's physiological transformation. Within minutes, nitric oxide levels rise, blood vessels dilate, and oxygen delivery improves. The body prepares for deep, restorative sleep. Sleep, in turn, becomes the foundation for every other habit to work. Deep sleep is when your immune system resets, when your brain clears toxins, and when your tissues heal. To protect this sacred process, create an environment that honors it. Keep your room cool, dark, and quiet. Avoid heavy meals and alcohol close to bedtime, as they disrupt deep sleep cycles. If you struggle with insomnia, magnesium-rich foods like almonds or a warm herbal tea can soothe the nervous system. Remember, quality of sleep matters more than quantity. Even 6 hours of deep, uninterrupted sleep can repair more than 8 hours of restless tossing. And then there's sunlight, nature's most underestimated medicine. Morning sunlight regulates your circadian rhythm, boosts serotonin, and improves vitamin D synthesis, all crucial for longevity. Aim for 10 minutes of natural light exposure within the first hour of waking. You don't need to sunbathe, simply step outside, breathe the morning air, and let light touch your eyes without looking directly at the sun. This small ritual anchors your biological clock, improves sleep at night, and enhances mood during the day. In fact, low vitamin D has been linked to everything from heart disease to depression. By reintroducing sunlight, you're feeding a rhythm your body has known since birth. Of course, longevity isn't just about the physical. Emotional and social health matter just as much. Human connection has measurable effects on survival. Studies from Harvard's 80-year longevity project show that strong relationships predict a longer, healthier life, more than cholesterol levels or income. The reason lies in biology. Connection lowers stress hormones and increases oxytocin, the hormone of trust and calm. Even a simple conversation, shared meal, or walk with a loved one signals to your brain, you are safe. And safety again is the condition that allows healing. If you live alone, cultivate connection intentionally. Join a class, volunteer, or spend time in nature. Even the act of caring for a plant or pet activates nurturing pathways that calm the nervous system. Isolation shortens lifespan as surely as smoking. But connection in any form lengthens it. Relief also comes from changing your relationship with time. After 50, many people feel a sense of urgency, a fear of running out of years. But paradoxically, slowing down can extend life. When you live more deliberately, eating slower, walking slower, breathing slower, you reduce oxidative stress and balance your nervous system. Heart rate variability, a measure of resilience, improves. You're no longer reacting to life, you're responding to it with grace. Longevity at its core is not about control, it's about harmony. And harmony is the quiet gift of awareness. When you start observing your habits instead of judging them, transformation happens naturally. You drink water not because you must, but because it feels right. You walk not because it burns calories, but because it brings peace. You rest not because you're weak, but because your body asks for renewal. The power of these small, compassionate choices ripples through every cell. Over time, something extraordinary happens. The markers of aging begin to slow. Your resting heart rate lowers. Your blood pressure stabilizes. Your glucose levels flatten. You notice mornings feel lighter, thoughts come clearer. This is your biology responding to care. The science behind it is complex, but the principle is simple. The body rewards consistency, not intensity. So as you rebuild these habits, movement, hydration, mindful nourishment, stillness, and connection, remember this: You're not chasing youth. You're cultivating vitality. The wrinkles, the silver hair, the slower mornings, they're not failures, they're reminders of your journey. Longevity isn't about escaping age. It's about inhabiting it fully, with clarity, strength, and calm. You may never see the cells repairing, the neurons reconnecting, or the arteries softening, but you'll feel it, in your energy, in your peace, in the quiet realization that life, at any age, can still feel deeply alive. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when you realize your body isn't failing you. It's waiting for you to notice its signals, to respond with care instead of frustration. That realization changes everything. Because the truth about longevity is not found in laboratories or expensive treatments. It's found in the ordinary moments that you repeat with intention. The glass of water you drink before your coffee, the walk you take instead of another hour in the chair, the breath you deepen when life begins to tighten. These are not small things. They are the quiet revolutions that build resilience one day at a time. Empowerment begins when you stop viewing health as an outcome and start seeing it as a relationship. A relationship with the body you've lived in for decades, the one that has carried you through every chapter, every challenge, every joy. For too long, people have been taught to treat their bodies like machines that need fixing, but your body is not a machine. It's a living story, an evolving conversation between your cells and your choices. And the older you grow, the more sacred that conversation becomes. Think of your body not as something that's breaking down, but as something that's adapting. When you get tired faster than you used to, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. Your body is prioritizing recovery over speed. When you crave more quiet, it's not aging, it's awareness. You've learned that peace is more nourishing than noise. These are not signs of decline, they are signs of refinement. Your biology is teaching you how to live more in alignment with what truly sustains you. Longevity isn't about resisting time, it's about aligning with it. You've already seen that change doesn't require extremes, it requires consistency. The science of aging reversal, telomere preservation, mitochondrial repair, reduced inflammation, all responds to small, sustainable habits. When you choose movement, even gentle movement, you're stimulating your DNA to express vitality. When you choose real food, you're feeding your microbiome, the invisible ecosystem that governs your immunity and mood. When you choose hydration, you're enhancing your circulation and cognitive clarity. And when you choose stillness, you're recalibrating your nervous system, allowing every organ to exhale. Each of these choices speaks to your body in its native language: rhythm, balance, safety. This is the power that many forget. Safety heals. Your body cannot repair when it feels threatened. Chronic stress, fear, or resentment keep your cells locked in defense mode, prioritizing survival over restoration. But when you live with calm confidence, trusting your ability to adapt, your biology follows. Cortisol drops, inflammation declines, immune strength rises. You literally create the internal conditions for longevity through peace of mind. The healthiest hearts aren't just strong, they're calm. The sharpest minds aren't constantly racing, they're balanced. Empowerment after 50 also means redefining what strength looks like. It's not the ability to lift the heaviest weight or run the fastest mile. It's the capacity to remain grounded when life changes, and it will. The loss of people you love, the shifts in routine, the slow but steady changes in the mirror. They are all part of being alive. Strength is continuing to care for yourself through it all. It's looking at the lines on your face and understanding that every one of them is evidence of endurance, of laughter, of survival, of feeling deeply. When you walk through your day with that awareness, even ordinary actions become sacred. Preparing a meal becomes an act of nourishment, not routine. Drinking water becomes an act of gratitude, not obligation. Moving your body becomes an expression of appreciation, not duty. You begin to see health not as maintenance but as reverence. That mindset, that quiet reverence, is what separates those who simply grow old from those who age with grace. And grace is the hidden key to longevity. Science can measure blood pressure, telomeres, cholesterol, but it cannot measure grace. Yet grace is what gives meaning to all those numbers. It's what steadies your heart during uncertainty, what keeps your curiosity alive. What allows you to forgive yourself for the years you didn't know better? Grace is what turns knowledge into wisdom. To live long is not the same as to live well. But the habits you've learned, movement, hydration, mindful eating, stillness, are the bridge between the two. They give you structure, but grace gives you purpose. When you begin to integrate these habits with presence and gratitude, the journey of aging becomes lighter, not because the challenges disappear, but because your perception changes. You stop chasing youth and start embodying vitality. You stop fearing decline and start cultivating awareness. And awareness, in itself, is rejuvenating. Mindfulness is not just a spiritual idea, it's a biological phenomenon. Studies show that people who meditate regularly have longer telomeres, lower inflammation, and healthier immune responses. Awareness literally changes your physiology. When you slow down to breathe, when you choose to respond instead of react, you are telling your nervous system, "We are safe." That single message ripples through every organ, every cell, rebalancing the delicate systems that sustain you. Empowerment also means taking ownership of your health narrative. For too long, the story of aging has been one of decline, of diminishing returns and lost potential. But modern science has rewritten that story. We now know that neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells, continues well into your 70s. Muscles can grow stronger at any age. Mitochondria can regenerate. The immune system can reset. There is no biological switch that says, "too late." The human body remains dynamic, adaptive, and responsive until the very end. The question isn't whether it can change. The question is whether you give it the opportunity to. And giving it that opportunity doesn't mean perfection. It means intention. There will be days when you skip your walk, when you eat too quickly, when stress wins for a moment. But empowerment is understanding that one day does not undo a lifetime of progress. You are not fragile. You are resilient. What matters most is returning. Returning to balance, returning to care, returning to rhythm. Every return reinforces trust between you and your body. That trust is the foundation of vitality. As you embody these habits, something else emerges. Clarity. Not just mental clarity, but clarity of purpose. You start to notice that health and meaning are intertwined. You feel more present with loved ones. You notice beauty in small things again. Your sense of gratitude expands, and with it your resilience. Gratitude lowers stress hormones, increases heart rate variability, and strengthens immunity. It's one of the simplest, most powerful longevity practices there is. When you wake up, instead of rushing, pause. Breathe. Feel thankful for the chance to experience another day. The body follows the mind's lead. Gratitude literally rewires your physiology for balance. Empowerment, in the end, is not a grand declaration. It's a quiet, daily agreement between you and your body that you will show up no matter how imperfectly. It's realizing that aging is not the closing of a door, but the opening of a new one. One where you live with more wisdom, more authenticity, and more presence. You begin to understand that vitality doesn't come from youth, it comes from alignment. Alignment between what you know is good for you and what you actually do. So if you take nothing else from this journey, take this. Your body is not past its prime. It's entering its truth. The next years can be your most powerful ones, not because you resist aging, but because you understand it. You know what fuels you, what drains you, what restores you. You know that health isn't luck, it's daily devotion. And that devotion is the ultimate form of self-respect. Walk each day with gentleness and consistency. Hydrate as if every sip renews your bloodstream, because it does. Move as if every step sends life through your arteries, because it does. Eat as if every bite builds your future cells, because it does. Rest as if every breath repairs your nervous system, because it does. These are not metaphors, they are truths written in biology. And as you continue to live this way, calmly, intentionally, compassionately, you will begin to feel a quiet strength that is unmistakable. The kind of strength that doesn't shout but radiates. You'll notice it in your patience, your clarity, your steady pulse, your peaceful sleep. That is longevity expressing itself through you, not as resistance to time but as harmony with it. This is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a new one. The one where you wake each morning knowing you are the author of your health. The one where you carry not fear but faith. Faith in your body's capacity to heal, to adapt, to thrive. You've learned the language of longevity. Now live it. Every step, every breath, every small act of care, it all counts. And together they write the most important story of all. That even as time moves forward, life can still expand. Because true longevity isn't about how long you live. It's about how deeply you live, and how much of yourself you bring into every moment you're given. That, more than anything else, is what keeps you young.